Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Teresa, this is Lost My Thread, and I'm very excited to be with you here on day one of Vlogmas. I really love Vlogmas. I love December and Christmas and the lead up to Christmas, and I am very much looking forward to sharing that time with all of you. If you have been to my channel before and you've seen my vlogs before, you are gonna know what to expect, but I feel like I want to explain a little bit for the people who are new around here. If you are new and you found me through Vlogmas, you are very welcome. I was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois in the US, and I moved to the UK, moved to London, England when I was 21, and I've now been living in London for more than half of my life. So I'm kind of American but English and all the things in between, and so I feel like it's just worth explaining that because sometimes my words I use and my accent can be a little bit confusing. I am very much a crafty person. I love to make things with my hands. My biggest love and passion is sewing, and this is primarily a sewing channel, but I've been really getting back into my knitting recently. But I also just love any kind of crafts, and I feel like Christmas and homemade, like handcrafted things go so well together, and I think that's a big part of why I love this time of year. I feel like it's encouraged more than other times for people to just make some stuff, and so I will definitely be doing some making and some baking. The other big thing that I always do in December is make a lot of Christmas cookies. Because I live in England, Christmas cookies are not really a thing here, but I like to have cookies on Christmas, and I like a variety of cookies on Christmas. So I will definitely be doing some cookie baking leading up to Christmas. I have quite a few ideas, but any suggestions, please do leave them in the comments down below. If you have like your favorite Christmas cookie, if you have a family favorite, if you have a secret recipe and you want to email me, like, by all means. I promise I won't share. But I really am excited to do all of the Christmassy things throughout this month. The one thing that I will say is probably a little bit different if you've been around here before is that I don't have a ton of like big things planned this year. I usually try and do a bit of like showing you guys around London, going to like big Christmas events, and frankly it's just kind of draining and exhausting. And this year I really just want to be cozy, and it doesn't mean I'm going to be home all the time. I do have things planned going out, but I just don't want to necessarily go somewhere that's like a Christmas theme where you pay twice as much for something that's just got the word Christmas and some lights and some baubles and Christmas music playing. So I'm gonna keep it kind of more like a low-key Christmas. That's my intention, but you know, we'll see how things go. I also want to try and incorporate some of the other things that I would usually do on my channel into Vlogmas. Usually I feel like I see those things very separately, and then I end up feeling at the end of December like I have so many videos to catch up on, even though I've been filming every single day. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. So what I want to do today is I want to kind of do like a what I made in November, which I would usually be doing as a separate video. But I also just want to get you up to date because I am going to be doing some sewing and knitting and crafting throughout December. And I feel like it makes sense because you're going to be with me on this journey throughout to like make sure that you know where I'm at. So I'm going to be doing that a little bit later. I do also have one advent calendar. I've got a sewing advent calendar, which I honestly didn't think I was ever going to do before. I've gotten sewing advent calendars before. The reality is I've been sewing for, I was figuring out like more than 25 years now, and I have a lot of things. I have plenty of things, like all the haberdashery items, the, you know, the tools, the notions, the little bits and pieces that you get in an advent calendar. I don't really need much of. But then the Fabric Godmother came out with an advent calendar that really intrigued me and excited me in a way that I wasn't expecting. I feel like I should just read to you what's on their website so that you can like get a feel of why I was excited. Right, so I've got my phone here to read out to you guys. So what you're getting in this particular advent box is 2 complete dressmaking projects, including 2 new fabrics and exclusive Fabric Godmother sewing patterns, exclusive fabric for the garments and all the haberdashery needed for both projects. As well as this, you'll have at least 4 different sewing related crafty projects and some fun gifts. So I know I'm kind of picky, and realistically, I might not really love the fabric that they're going to give me or the patterns that they're going to give me. I might really love them, and obviously I hope so. And I'm hoping that they make them fairly, I don't want to say boring, but more like universal that most people would like. That's what I'm hoping for. But regardless of that, the fact that I'm gonna get some little crafty projects as well was honestly what tipped me over and excited me the most. And it's ridiculous because I'm sure they're not like super pricey items, but I feel like that was the part that I wanted the most from this box. I got my box and I literally haven't touched it. Like I didn't even open it. I just took my address off so I can show you guys opening it up to see what it looks like, because with all of the stuff that they're saying you're gonna get, I have no idea how it's gonna be organized and like laid out for an advent. It's a big old box. So let me show you guys. I will open it up with you. It's hefty, right? It's not crazy heavy or anything like that, but it's a good size. So let's see what is inside. So see, I was very good. I did not open before the 1st of December, although actually, in all honesty, today is actually the 30th of November when I'm filming this, because what I really wanted to do was to have my day 1 video come out on the 1st of December. Usually I film on the 1st of December, but I don't edit until the following morning. So I feel like I'm kind of always a day behind, and people are putting out their day 2 videos and my day 1 videos just come out. So we're counting this as the 1st of Vlogmas, even if it's not the 1st of December. So shh, it's all good. Oh, okay, I could have totally opened this. Because it's a... What? Wow. Oh my gosh, guys. This is a sewing basket. Eee! That's wild. That's so cool. Oh my goodness. What? Wow. Please read me first. Scan the QR code to start your advent calendar journey. I've got a password. Okay. Okay, I'm excited. I know I shouldn't be looking, but I want to see what this stuff is. Wow. Okay, this is gonna be nuts this month. All right, I guess I need to scan my QR code, guys. All right, this feels complicated. Here are the numbers to guide you through your advent box. Get ready for 24 days of sewing fun and 13 specially selected gifts to open. Simply click on today's date to reveal the surprise. You can access all the days straight away if you wish, but it will spoil some surprises, giving you flexibility about when you do each step of the advent box. Feel free to get ahead to slow down and catch up later, whatever works for you. A full listing of all the dates can be found at the bottom of the calendar for easy navigation later. I'm guessing this is going to make more sense as I go along, but I'm just going to click on day 1, number 1, and see what it says. Open your box. By now you'll have discovered your striking pink and red striped sewing box. We really want to start the advent calendar with a bang, and this amazing sewing box will be perfect to store all your sewing tools for 2026 and beyond. Come back tomorrow to discover your next gift. All right, I'm like truly hyped for this. I'm honestly was not expecting this to be so like grand and impressive. I'm really thrilled, and I'm gonna really enjoy doing this for the month. So I'm gonna be patient. I'm not gonna click on any more boxes, and I will share with you guys what is in box number 2 or click number 2 tomorrow. I don't have a ton planned today. I had a really nice relaxing morning. I did some yoga, I did some knitting, and had a bath, so pretty chill things. I am gonna have some lunch pretty soon with my husband, and we'll see what we get up to this afternoon. I do have one other thing that I need to get done today, because I'm going over to my friend Annette's house tomorrow, and I said that I would make us some hummus and prep some veggies for dipping. So I'm gonna be doing that a little bit later on today. But for now, lunchtime, and I will catch up with you guys a little bit later. So we decided to go for a little walk. It is actually a beautiful autumn day. The sun is shining, which doesn't happen all that often, frankly, in London, and nice to get out, get some fresh air. I had a bit of a random lunch because I wasn't feeling super hungry, and I had what feels like a very me transatlantic kind of lunch. I had an open-faced peanut butter sandwich, which as a kid I used to call a Sesame Street sandwich because I'd obviously seen it at some point on Sesame Street, but don't ask me the context because I really don't remember. And a cup of tea, a cup of Yorkshire tea. I feel like the combination is just a little bit perfect. But yeah, I thought I would take you guys out with me because it is looking really nice and autumnal. We're not quite in the full like autumn leaves, but it feels like a nice crisp autumn afternoon, and so I'll give you a bit of a look around the local area. We're heading to the park, which should be nice. Hello. I'm chatting. What are you telling us? Telling us all the stuff? Local information. Hello, cutie. Hi. You're friendly, huh? In my sewing space, a familiar looking environment, but I think we're a little more chaotic than usual because it is Vlogmas, and during Vlogmas we keep it real. I have a lot of stuff that I want to share with you guys that I got up to in November, but I want to try and be as fast as I can because if I was going to make that video on its own, that could be potentially an hour long, and I don't want this video to end up 2 hours. I'm gonna try and speed through as best as I can, but obviously I want to tell you all the details. I'm gonna start doing what I would usually do, so just sharing the things that I sewed over the last month. I feel like I sewed like in spurts, and I've been getting really into my knitting, which I said, and I feel like that's been kind of taking a lot of my like downtime when I have time to sew. The other thing just to mention, I often would sew early in the morning when my husband's still asleep because I'm a super early riser, but this room is directly next to our bedroom, and so I can't sew in here when he's asleep. And previously I would have taken my sewing machine into the kitchen and done some sewing in there, but because I'm still recovering from some health problems, the kitchen chair is really not comfortable for me to sit in, so I'm not able to. So I think that's had an impact as well, but I have a lot to share, so I don't think you guys are gonna feel like there's a lack of stuff. I'm just gonna grab them kind of as I have them. The first one is the Mia Messenger bag by BF Patterns. Now I should say, I shared with you guys my sewing plan, or my autumn sewing plans recently, but I actually made that a little while ago, so full disclosure. I made it when I was basically not able to do very much sewing, but I was able to do some dreaming of sewing, which is its own hobby in its own right. And so you're gonna see a lot of things that were in my plans there, and don't think I made them in the last like 2 weeks or whatever it was, because I made them throughout the month. But yeah, the Mia Messenger bag by BF Patterns. I am so happy with how this bag turned out. So this is a fabric, it's a dead stock cotton polyamide blend from Sew Me Sunshine. It is water resistant, which makes it really special. Because I live in London and it rains, guys, this is gonna get wet. I actually have my bestie bag. Maybe I'll go grab it. I don't know if this is actually gonna come across, but this is the BF bestie bag. So same pattern company, different bag. And it has gotten really like stained from water damage. If it isn't coming across, I think it's probably not. I'll see if I can get a good photo just to show you guys. But basically the corduroy has faded in a lot of places, just I know because of getting wet. So having a waterproof. I mean, it's not technically waterproof because I didn't waterproof the seams and all that, but it is definitely splash proof. That is going to be so, so helpful. So I'll pop in some pictures so you can see what this bag looks like on. It's an over-the-shoulder bag. There are 3 sizes of strap, and I went for the medium one after doing a little bit of research and asking around. You can actually adjust the strap as you're making it, which is fantastic. So I'd say probably err on the side of making it a bit longer because you can always make it shorter, but you try it on before you stitch it in place so you know that you're getting it just right. It's an unusual, not super unusual, but it's a slightly unusual design. So it's a massive bag. It's got pockets on the front, so I went for the 2 pockets on the front and I lined them. It's so hard to show you guys the lining on the inside, but it does look pretty. It does not want to focus. There we go. It does look really pretty and it matches what's on the inside and it feels nice when I put my hand in the pocket. It feels really nice and soft. I added a tag onto there. This is an Intensely Distracted label, 100% cotton. Focus. Sorry guys, it really wants to focus on my face. But I think that's a nice detail as well. It has like a receded zip section, so it kind of sits down a bit lower and it doesn't attach at the side. So the zipper here is completely like free flowing. You can open, poke inside. Theoretically, someone could drop something in this little gap inside my bag. You can't get stuff out, but you can get into the bag that way. It is, like I said, it's a slightly unusual design for that. I think it's quite cool. I think overall it looks quite modern and cool. The back has nothing going on. It's just plain, which is fine by me. And yeah, there's a big wide strap. I appreciate that it's a wide strap because it is quite a big bag. And so if you put a lot in there, you need to be able to have that weight distributed so it's not going to be uncomfortable. I'm going to open this baby up and show you guys the lining, which again, I know is super hard to see inside a bag, but I do my best. So this has a zipper pocket on one side, so it's a nice big roomy pocket on one side, and then the other side has an optional, I chose to put it in there, they call it a device pocket. So for like your laptop or tablet or whatever, I just think it's nice to have more pockets, and that has a little Velcro strap that closes. The lining is an Atelier Brunette fabric that I feel like goes with it so, so well. Now, I did mention to you guys, I was hemming and hawing about a lot of the interfacing with this bag. For one, I wasn't sure if I needed to interface the main fabric and how well the fabric or the interfacing would press onto it. And then also for the lining fabric, I knew I wanted a little bit more structure because it's a viscose fabric, which is obviously it's not ideal for like long-term wear of a bag. But I thought the colors and the design were just so good together, I wanted to make it work. And I basically, in the end, I went to town with interfacing. And I interfaced everything. So I interfaced the fabric, the outer fabric, the inner fabric. This tablet section, I used something called interlining, which is a little bit softer and spongier. And I feel like you still have a little bit of kind of the drape and it doesn't feel as stiff and hard. I really do like using that for certain applications. And this is one that I think it was perfect. This bag broke my ironing board. No, it broke my patience with my ironing board. The amount of interfacing I was putting onto this thing, I've been wanting a new ironing board, knew that I needed a new ironing board for such a long time. I had compressed so much of the padding, the wadding, that you had like grid lines on everything that I was pressing and it wasn't pressing evenly. So I was having to like shift stuff around and keep pressing and pressing. And I did think about replacing the cover or buying a new cover, making a new cover. But when I looked on the bottom, it was rusty on the bottom as well from all my steam. And so I just, after this project, I bought myself a new ironing board and everything I've ironed since then has been a delight. But it's such a funny thing that like, I should have bought the ironing board. I should have paused, bought the ironing board and kept making this. But that's not the way our brains work, not the way my brain works. I was like determined to get through this bag. But I really do love the way it turned out. I think the color is great. I think it's super versatile. I think it's going to go with so many things in my autumn wardrobe. I will say the construction of it wasn't as straightforward as the Bestie bag. It was definitely a more involved project. And there were some points where I was like, hang on. And I kind of had to think and figure out what I was doing. But I do think the finish is fantastic. It is a more fancy, like elevated bag. And I think you can tell that. I think it's a really good kind of meaty project if you're kind of more intermediate or advanced beginner and you've made quite a few like bags or made quite a few things before, I think you could definitely approach it. I would make it again. I think it was a good pattern. And like I said, really good wardrobe staple. Moving right along then to another thing from my autumn plans, which is the Quebrada skirt from Itch to Stitch. So this is a gored skirt. So it's got, I think it's 5 gores at the front, 4 at the back. And so it's very shaped at the top and it really flares out. So this is made in a dark blue, it's a navy blue, medium, I would say, corduroy, but it has some stretch to it. It's actually quite a stretchy fabric. I'll see if I can get to show you. Yeah, it stretches quite a bit. And so I knew that it was gonna end up being too big because of the stretch, but it's hard to gauge how much you might need to size down. And so what I decided to do is just cut it out as is with my size, and then I can figure out how big it is and take some seams in. And so when I made it initially, it was clearly massive. And so I ended up increasing the seam allowance on a load of the seams. They went from like 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. And because there's so many panels, it ended up reducing it. I think it was about like 2 inches in the end. It is still looser than I would like it. Now, I'm somebody who I'm smaller at the waist than I am at the hip. And so if something doesn't fit my waist, it will just fall to wherever it fits. So it's not like it's not wearable, and it is definitely, it fits me. It's just a lower skirt. It's a lower rise than I would have wanted it. And that is purely because I didn't take it in quite enough. It's so hard because I was really wanting to maintain comfort for this. I could do like a little elastic at the top that's probably wouldn't be visible. It would just take it in a tiny bit and it wouldn't really add any gathering, which I'm tempted to do, but I did actually stitch all the facing pieces down on the inside. So this is faced, it's got a waistband facing. There's no, it's not a waistband facing. There's no waistband, it's a waist facing. And I didn't want it to be flipping up all over the place. So I've tacked it down on every single seam. And so if I wanted to do a little elastic channel, which is totally doable, I'd have to undo all of those, which is really a pain. So I'm not entirely sure if I will do that or if I'll just have it a little bit of a lower rise skirt. The main thing is it just changes what I can wear, what I can wear with it. And I feel like if I tuck things into it, it doesn't look as nice, kind of where it's hitting. But I may just need to play around and try some different things that are maybe a bit more fitted at the waist, because I've been tucking in things that are a little bit baggier and I feel like I'm kind of losing my shape as a result. But maybe if I had something that was a bit tighter, it's something to play with basically. But it is a really lovely skirt, I will say. I love the fullness of it at the bottom. That is the whole great thing with the gores, because it's more fitted at the top and it flares right out. I love a long skirt in the winter time. I love a long corduroy skirt, especially. It's really nice and warm and comfortable. And I love that there's that little bit of stretch there to keep it extra comfortable. I did try to add pockets to this, and this didn't work out. So what I had thought I was going to do is just open a little slit on the side seam basically and stick a pocket into those side seams. But this is a fairly fitted skirt going down the hip, and it was just pulling open, and there's no way, like it was never going to stay shut. It was just like a gaping open clear pocket there, and it was no good. What I really should have done, and what I would be really tempted to do in the future, because I do think I want to make this again in the future with different fabric, I would really want to just steal the pocket design of the Pietra pants by Closet Core Patterns, which I've made, that has a similar like panel section on the side to the gores, and you could just create a little pocket. And what I would probably do is just like lay the pieces over the other, like lay the Pietra on top of my Quebrada skirt pieces and see like, okay, well this is, if this is the top of the waist, because neither of them have a waistband, so it's a really good one to just like steal the design from. If I had the top at the same point, I would see like how long the inner pocket piece is and then how long the outer pocket pieces that fold in to create the pocket. I hope that makes sense, guys. I'm sure if you've made the Pietra pants, you know what I'm talking about, but either way, hopefully you can visualize what I'm saying. But it's not perfect, this skirt, because it doesn't have pockets. So that was the thing. I ended up just removing the pocket because there was just no way it was gonna work. And I just stitched up that seam and took the pocket section out. It's fully functional as it is. It's just probably not exactly as I had envisioned, and I don't have any more of this fabric, unfortunately, to like redo that top of any of those sections on the side, but it's fine. I don't need to have a pocket. I'm happy to wear it as is. This one does have a zipper at the back, and overall, yeah, it was a great construction, I have to say. I really enjoy sewing itch to stitch patterns. It was a nice one to put together. I would definitely recommend the skirt pattern if you like the style. I would say maybe don't use a stretch fabric because it did make it all a lot more awkward. It's not meant to be made with stretch. So that was me going in knowing that it was going to be a bit more awkward. But it's a great color as well for me, and it goes with so many tops, including the one that I'm wearing today. Yeah, it goes with lots of things that I have in my wardrobe, so I do think it's going to get a ton of wear. And that fabric I got from a fabric swap. So I stuck a little fabric label in there. Which one is it? Swapped, not shopped. I think that was a cute one. The other, I would say, finished garment that I have was actually a upcycle or refashion. This is a massive Mahusive skirt that used to be the bottom of the NYX dress by Closet Core Patterns. I made that dress and I was never really that thrilled with the fit of it on the bodice. I didn't do any adjustments because I knew it was oversized. So I didn't do a full bust adjustment. I figured I'd be fine because it's oversized anyway. But it just like, it fell in weird places, and it was definitely a lot shorter at the front than it was at the back. And I also had a problem where the buttons, I put them in the washing machine, not the dryer. I don't use the dryer for me maids, but I put them in the washing machine, and some of the pockets kind of lost their color and changed to gold rather than like the teal that they were. And so that was never going to work for me. And in the end, I decided I will wear this as a skirt, because when I had this as a dress, my favorite way to wear this, because I didn't love the fit of the bodice, was to put a sweater over the top of it and just wear it like that. And that was the photos from the bestie bag that not the Mia Messenger bag that I showed you guys. That was the combo of that sweatshirt and this. So I really like those two together. But yeah, I decided that if I like wearing that with a sweater over the top, like a faux skirt, I should just make it a skirt. So it was very simple to do. I didn't do anything that fancy, but I did end up actually piecing together sections from the sleeves of the bodice, because there's quite a lot of fabric in the sleeves, to create a waistband, because I didn't want it to end up lower than it was. I wanted it to be as long and flowy as it was. But I will say the gathered tier, so this is 1, 2, 3 tiers, all gathered in, and the waist tier it's so huge. Like for my body, I feel like, hang on, I'm trying to not include my elastic panel because I ended up changing it and making that more narrow. But yeah, if I just take the width of the top tier, it's easily 2 times the size of my waist, a little bit more probably. So what I'm saying about that is basically, it starts off really big, gathered into the elastic, and then it gets bigger as it goes through the tiers. And the final tier is so huge. I should probably measure. I'm gonna measure it, and hang on, let me do like an approximate, right? So that's 2 meters because we're folded in half. 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 meters of skirt at the bottom. And it's a pretty long skirt. So what I will say is it's really fun to twirl around on. So I had to do a little like twirl video to show you guys. Like, it's so full and flowy and wonderful. You definitely have to lift this up when you're going up the stairs or you will trip on it. Probably same with Quebrada, but it kind of opens out a little bit more. But this thing is a nightmare for getting into the car and like not having your skirt in the door. You have to really like pull it in with you. And I highly, highly disrecommend wearing this kind of a long full skirt with a wheelie office chair. So I brought this or wore this to work, and I was doing a clinic and I was seeing patients, and I was continuously, every time I sit down, I try and like pull the skirt up on my lap so that if I moved around a little bit, it wasn't getting caught. I had 3 occasions, fortunately not with a patient there, but 3 occasions where it got so wrapped around the wheel, I had to like pull the chair up in the air and like rotate the wheel to be able to get this bottom of the skirt out and not tear it. So I'm not going to be wearing it when I'm doing a clinic at work, and I probably just won't even wear it to work because it's more trouble than it's worth. But it's so nice to wear, honestly. It's like this weird like two sides, right? Things are complicated. Life is complicated. But I really do love wearing this skirt. I think this is going to be great. I like it certainly with like tights and boots. What I will say also, both of these long skirts as an extra delight, I don't have to wear tights if I'm wearing boots. I get enough coverage, and that was something I was really hoping for with the longer skirts, because I don't love wearing tights all the time in the winter time. And yeah, you can wear them for warmth, and sometimes I wear tights under trousers for extra warmth, but if you don't need to, it's just, I find it so much more comfortable to just wear a skirt as is. But I will say this will also be so great in the spring and the summer with like little tank tops. I think it's going to be so cute. This is a fabric, it's an X designer, X Zara fabric from So Me Sunshine, and it has the most gorgeous print on it. It's these beautiful flowers. What I love about this, I love the colors. So the green I really like, it's a great green. Well, actually, there's a couple of greens on there, but all the little colors inside. So like there's a peachy color, there's an orange, there's a yellow. Those colors are readily available in my wardrobe. And so finding things that match with it, I mean, my top, again, beautiful. So many things in my wardrobe match really well with this skirt and bring out those other colors. It makes me really happy. So I think this is honestly going to be a year-round staple for me. I'm so glad that I chopped the top of this dress off, because as a skirt, it's a winner. Like really, it's such a fantastic one. I probably wouldn't recommend this skirt necessarily from the dress to make this pattern, because it is so big at the bottom. You probably don't need it to be so massive at the bottom. But if you want a big old full skirt, it's not a bad way to go. But also you could totally self-draft this, because it's really not very complicated. It's just tiers stuck together. But I'm really happy with the outcome. And I think I'm going to show you the other finished sewing projects. And then I've got some like works in progress kind of things. And then I'll get to the knitting. So something I've been meaning to do for such a long time that I finally got around to doing is to make these, which are like reusable fabric wipes. So kind of like what you'd use a paper towel for. I've heard them referred to as unpaper towels, which frankly I don't really like very much. This is a fabric you might have seen on my boot shaper video. If you saw, I made some boot shapers. Oh shoot, no, that was October. I was thinking, did I make those this month? No, it was the previous month, so I don't have to show you guys those. But this is the same fabric. It's an African wax print fabric that I got from the House of Mamiwata that I really liked, but also I wouldn't wear. Like the colors in this are just not for me. Like they don't match in my wardrobe very well. And so I knew if I made something with it, I just wouldn't get a lot of wear out of it, but it made me really happy and I didn't want to not use it. And it's a good, nice cotton fabric. So I basically I self-drafted this as a concept using just some towel. This is an old towel and this fabric, and what I decided I wanted in the end, because I was basically thinking about what do I use a paper towel for. Sometimes I just want to take like half of a paper towel, and this is basically like a little bit bigger than half of a paper towel. It is 6 inches by 9 inches in the end, and so I added some seam allowance, 1/2 inch seam allowance all around. I stitched it leaving a small gap, flipped it inside out, closed the gap, and I did add a little crease going down the middle. And the reason I did that is because I remember reading that when you make these, they can sometimes get a little bit turned inside out and floppy and a bit hard to then straighten out when you want to like store them. And I actually find that because I put this little crease down the middle just to stop it from doing that, they then fold really nicely like a little book. And I found this basket. I wanted to put them somewhere. I found this absolutely perfect basket from Denim, which is like a homeware store in the UK, that I honestly couldn't have picked something better. It is such a perfect fit. Now I did use also some other fabric. So this is a quilting cotton fabric that from the back of a quilt that I made. And then this is a lighter weight cotton fabric. It's a little bit softer. That's like a cotton lawn fabric. I think the more structured fabrics probably work better, but I ended up making so many of them. I basically had 2 towels that they were old, they weren't as good, but they were still, you know, functionally okay. And so I wanted to use those up, and I ended up getting 27. I actually made 28, but one of them, when I was doing the top stitching going around the outside on one of the corners, because it's bulky, like there's a lot of fabric folded together when you're turning that right side out and stitching around, I broke a needle, which is the first time I've broken a needle in I don't even know how many years. I used to break needles like anything because I used to not know that you're supposed to remove pins. I know it's really like sounds really silly, but when I was taught to sew, the nun who taught me never said to remove pins. My mom who sewed never took out pins, and we just accepted that breaking needles was part of the process of sewing. I'm delighted to say that I don't do that anymore, and so breaking needle is honestly a rarity. But this is probably also because I made this with the same needle that I had used to make definitely the corduroy skirt, probably the bag, maybe the boot shapers. I'm not the best at changing needles, so I think it was just kind of like enough is enough. But there was a tiny little bit of needle that was in the thickness of the fabric that I could not get out. And I was like, seriously, it's fine. Like, I don't need 28 of these babies. I have 27, so I've got 2 trays of these. I use them so much. I wasn't sure how much I would use them, and I will show you. I'm sure you'll see me use them in Vlogmas, but I use them for wiping countertops, which is great, instead of using paper towels. I use them as a like preventative as well. So if like I'm pouring something that I think might spill, hot chocolate, chai out of a pot, I'll put one of these down on the countertop, put my cup on top, and when I pour, if I don't spill it, great, this can just go back in the little cubby. But if it did spill, then I've caught the spill and I don't have to actually clean the countertop. So I've been using it for so many things. I can't even tell you, but it's great as an alternative to paper towels. It's much more eco-friendly, and also it uses up scraps and fabric that would have otherwise gone into a landfill. So it's definitely a win-win. And my husband also, we're obsessed with these. I feel like whenever we are doing a load of laundry, there's like at least 1 or 2 of these that have been thrown into the washing machine, because that's what we do when we're finished with them. And I'm sure they will just get softer with use as well, because the cotton's still a little bit stiff. They're great for cleaning windows and mirrors as well. To use like the cotton side works fantastically. That's why I did a double-sided, because I heard that it's useful to have different types of surfaces for different types of clean. So the toweling bit is good for like wet spillages and things. But yeah, these are definitely a really good thing to have in my life, and you will see them because I use them so much. So I think I'm going to show you the jackets. Now, in my autumn plans video, I said that I wanted to make a black denim jacket, and I had picked, it's an itch to stitch jacket that the name's gone out of my head, but it's going to be up here. You're going to see a tennis jacket. And as I was looking at the design and I was looking at the size chart in particular, I was all over the size chart. And when I was looking at it, I was basically, because this one comes with bust cup sizes, I was significantly smaller in the bust than I was in the waist and hip, because obviously there's like extra for the bust cup size. And I think it was going to end up being like from the bust to the hip, it was going to be like 4 whole sizes different. And I was a little bit unsure how that was going to work with the grading, because there's so many pieces on this jacket. It's like lots of little panel sections, like princess seams, but I feel like even more than that. And I was worried that it was not going to really fit quite right. And so I looked at another pattern that I had been considering for a denim jacket. It's the Cashmerette. Oh boy. I've written on the inside of these jackets, I made muslins. So it is the Glover jacket by Cashmerette. It's a Cashmerette club pattern. And I had less differential on the size chart there. So for me, I was going to go up, I think it was like 1 size at the waist and then another size at the hip, which is totally doable. Like, that's not anything too wild and quite typical. And so I was like, oh, do I want to make that one? I like them both, but I kind of like the design of the Itch to Stitch one a little bit more. So what I decided to do was to just make a muslin of them both. And they're very like quick and dirty muslins. I'm putting the pieces together. I didn't add any pockets. I haven't added any buttons. I haven't even added collars. I just wanted to know, how do these 2 fit, to help me make a decision of what I want to use for my pattern going forward. So I can show you guys the 2. I imagine you're going to probably be with me with my preference. Okay, so a tennis jacket. This is the Itch to Stitch one that I had to do a lot of grading between the sizes. So what I will say, I don't think it's bad. I really don't think it's bad. So imagine it's kind of buttoned, you know. It does fit, but it is a little bit more fitted at the waist. Like, it's quite shaped and fitted. And I think the fullness of the bust, I would need to bring down a little bit on the princess seam. It's not sitting at my full bust, so I'd have to do a little bit of adjustment on there. I think otherwise, though, it's really not bad. but it would take a little bit of work. And I will say that the construction of this one was just a little bit more faffy than the Cashmerette one for whatever reason. It felt just a bit more complicated, which is probably because the design lines are a little bit more complicated. I'm gonna be covered in muslin shreds, but anyway, that's fine. So this is the Glover jacket by Cashmerette. And I feel like this one, the fit, it just feels like it makes more sense. It doesn't go in as much at the waist, which to me is what I want from a denim jacket. I don't need like a lot of shaping going on for a denim jacket. Where the fullness of the bust is hitting is like perfect for me as well, which is obviously great. And just to mention, I didn't cut out the back of this like waist, the hem. Not intentionally, that was an accident, but I was not going to go back in and cut it out when I realized it was too late. And I could get an idea for the fit and the shape. But I feel like this one, honestly, it's like this just fits and the other one doesn't fit. So I'm not really going to bother trying to adjust the itch to stitch one. I'm just going to make the Cashmerette one because it's just right out of the packet easier. Oh, one other thing that I think I might have sewed this in September. I'm not entirely sure. This is my yoga mat that I have had for quite a few years. I love it. It works really well. Good thickness, good amount of grip and all that. But this little band that comes with it, there was elastic going around at the two ends, and that's really helpful for storing it so it doesn't unravel when I'm putting it away. And the elastic had gotten so loose and lax. I'll pop in a picture so that you can see. It was essentially like it wasn't functional anymore. And so I decided I just wanted to replace the elastic. And that was a good thing that I could do when I couldn't sew, is just sit and unpick, because it wasn't that much to do. And I feel like it worked out really nicely. I think I got a nice finish on there. So on like the outside, as it were, I made a little box. So yeah, there's a little box here on the outside. And then on the inside, I also like burned the edge of the polyester to stop it from fraying because the other one was really frayed. So I feel like this is actually an improvement on the previous version. And yeah, mainly if it works, if it performs the function, then it's a win. And it's a small thing, but I feel like it's nice to talk about the small things that we do because our sewing is such a great skill and we don't necessarily have to be making really fancy, impressive garments all the time. Using our skills to improve our lives in other ways, like my little wipes and this, is also fantastic and very satisfying to have done. I do have some works in progress over on this heap of nonsense. So I have decided that I'm going to be making one of the cozy pouches. It's a project bag that I made 2 versions of for myself. So this is I use it for knitting projects. That's what it's really designed for, but you could use it for anything really, sewing projects. It's just a cute little pouch. I really like the design of it. It was a very fun one to put together when I was making it, and I like that you can patchwork scraps together. And there's a few designs of things that you can do. I made the largest size, and I decided that I'm going to make one for a friend of mine as a Christmas gift. And it's still in pieces, so basically I cut it out. So there's quilt batting to make it nice and chunky. And the fabric that I'm using is this really cute, let's see if I can show you. It's a very like trippy retro feel with very colorful, really nice and bright. And the fabric that I'm using with it, because I'm using 2 different colors together, is this hot pink linen. And I think the 2 work really well together. I think it's going to be a really pretty bag. I am doing some pattern matching because there's circles that need to join together. Hang on. And it should, I'm hoping it should work. I kind of laid everything out and it should work out. Time will tell. But I'm basically making the design with the circle sections, which is the one that I haven't made yet. Because I think with the fabric that I had such small scraps of that little retro-y one. But I wanted to make the most of it. And I feel like it was nice to be able to use some relatively smaller sections, but still be able to have a project bag with it. So that's something I'll be working on this month because it's a Christmas present. So I need to work on that. And then the other thing, again, I feel like I've been a little bit away with the fairies recently and forgetting bits when I'm catching up with you guys. Probably because life's just been a bit upside down. But I did actually prepare things for my Anthea blouse by Anna Allen that I was going to block print. I'm not gonna block print this now until the spring because the blocks that I have are tulips, and tulips are such a spring flower, and the fabric that I have is quite soft and light, and I feel like it really is a spring summer fabric. So I've decided to just pause as is. I don't like to have works in progress pause, but at the same time, I don't want to force myself to make a blouse that I'm not going to wear right now anyway when I have other things I'd like to be wearing now. So it's gone on hold, and basically what it is, I wish I could remember, it's like a cotton modal blend fabric, I think. And I did dye it. So it was like a crisp bright white, like a blue white, and I dyed it so it's a little bit more like a softer brown white, which is more my kind of color. And what I did is I traced out, I just literally used like, was it a permanent marker or a pen? Looks like a fine tip marker to trace all these pieces. This is a permanent marker. It's not like a washable, erasable marker. And the reason I did this is because that is the pattern piece, and I will be sewing inside the seam allowance. And there's no darts on this, so I didn't have to draw any extra lines. I did make little marks on the outside of where my notches would have been, because when I cut it out, I'll cut those little notches out. And I want to have a bigger piece of fabric to block print, but I don't want to have to block print the entire fabric if I'm not going to use it all, because it's kind of a waste really of my time and paint and all that. So I now know exactly how these pieces are going to fit, and also when I'm placing the blocks, I can place them in a way that I feel is like it works, and I can match what happens across the two front sections that are going to button up in the front. So this project is going on hold till the spring, but I'm happy with what I've done, and I think it will work, and I think it will be a really beautiful blouse when I get there. Knitting updates. Now, I had showed you guys 2 sweaters that I was working on, and I have made very good progress on both of them. Oh, these are the project bags that I was talking about. I could have just shown you those because they were literally right next to me. So I'm making 2 sweaters. This one is the Stripe Hype sweater by, I can't remember her name. I'm going to put it up on the screen. I made this one after seeing Sarah's version from So Sarah Sewed. Hers was so pretty, and I love the colors that she chose, and I totally just wanted to do the same. Not the same colors, but like I really wanted to make that same pattern, and I am really happy with how it's coming together. So this is made in a, what's it called? Yarnsmiths Merino DK weight. Look at the colors. And I feel like the fit is going to be fantastic. I finished the green. Yeah, it's a drop sleeve, as you can see. I finished the green, and then there's going to be a blue, and then there's a section for the cuff. I am a little bit worried that it's going to be a bit short in the sleeve. To be fair, it's like kind of slightly short in the body as well. I'm going to wait until I get to the point where I'm doing the cuff, because I might just do a longer cuff if I feel like it's not quite long enough. I'll have a little bit of a play. But overall, it's been a really quick and satisfying knit. Because you're changing color after every 8th row, it goes generally pretty quickly, particularly on the smaller sections. I mean, the sleeves are like whizzing by, no problem. The body, when you get to the fullest part of the body, does take a little bit longer, but even then it's really not too bad. And whenever you finish a row, you're like, ooh, I'm on to the next row, and you're like excited to keep the momentum going. There is this really lovely ribbing at the bottom that is, what is it called? Half twisted rib, which is a purl knit through the back loop, purl knit through the back loop. It's quite time consuming, and it is something that I needed to focus on. The reason I started this project is because I have another more involved project, and I wanted to have something that I could just knit without thinking. I could knit while I was watching TV. I could knit while I'm like hanging out with my husband, whatever, doing whatever we're doing, watching him play video games, that kind of a thing. And I thought this was a good project for that. But when I was doing this ribbing, I had to actually look at it because I didn't trust myself to knit through the back loop and not lose something or miss something. So I had to be more focused, and it took a while because it's, you know, 1 by 1 rib. That's just going to take a while anyway. And I found the process quite tedious, but I think the finish is so nice. I love the way that rib looks. I think it's so pretty, and I love that it's like different on the inside as well. It's lovely on the inside, and it is so stretchy, like crazy stretchy. So I think I'm a bit of a convert for it, even if it is a pain. The only thing I will say is I realized as I was finishing that I'd forgotten to size down a needle size, which I know you're supposed to do. It's in the instructions. That's just me like flying through it because I felt like, oh yeah, let's start the ribbing. So I knitted with the same size, and I feel like you can, I don't know if it's because of that or if it's just was going to be the case anyway, but it looks kind of like wobbly. It reminds me of in sewing when you make your neckband or your hemband a little bit too long and it doesn't really sit how it's meant to. I'm sure with a good steam that would come out, and I haven't blocked this obviously, so the blocking might just take care of it anyway. And that's the thing too with like the length, is I don't know if the length of the sleeve, the length of the body might change significantly when blocking. Merino wool. I know wool generally you can kind of stretch it to fit the schematics. I'd love to get opinions though from more experienced knitters if I should try it on and make sure that the sleeve is definitely long enough as is, or if I should account for the fact that I can kind of stretch it out once I'm blocking it. It is oversized, so it definitely will like, there's some wiggle room with it all, but I do love how it's working and coming together. The last color is a blue, and I think it's going to be a really nice different color on there. I love all these colors. I think it's going to go really well with so much in my wardrobe because there's so many colors that are in my wardrobe. It's going to be a super fun one to wear. I mean, it'll go great with the pants that I'm wearing now. These are the Cass Wide Leg pants. You're not going to be able to see them. But yeah, this is like they're like a forest green linen, and I think the colors will be super cute together. But I think this is going to work with a lot of things anyway, and I think it'll be fun to play around with wearing it with different things in my wardrobe. And it shouldn't be too much longer really, because the sleeve is getting smaller and it's not that big anyway. Obviously, I know that I've got a cuff to do at the sleeve, and I've got the cuff neckband to do as well, so those are going to take a little bit of time. But it's been a good project. It's been a fun one, and I have been really flying through. I'm honestly really surprised because the last time I did an update video, it wasn't even like the very beginning of November. It was probably about a week into November that I filmed that, something like that. And so I have done a lot in a few weeks. So I'm feeling very hopeful that that one should get finished pretty soon. And then this is my more involved project, my more like complicated, my more advanced knitting project. I'm making the Wool and Honey sweater by Drea Renee Knits, Andrea Mowry's design, and I'm using this really incredible baby alpaca silk cashmere blend that I'm in love with. It is in this really gorgeous, like a dusty rose color or dusty mauve color that I think will be such a good color for me. And look where I am. This doesn't really want to stretch out on the needles anymore. Let me see if I can kind of bunch up. I think this is just becoming increasingly difficult to show you, but my honeycomb pattern, it is so nice. You know what? This is way better. What am I doing? Holding it upside down. But I have done 4 rows of this beautiful honeycomb pattern, and I've gotten to the point now, it's called part 2 of the yoke section, where it splits off and it becomes asymmetrical and it's not like continuous honeycomb going around. I finished that this morning. That's what I was knitting this morning, and I feel like that feels like a massive achievement. That's like a really good marker for progress to me. And I did put a lifeline thread in here or yarn in here. I've been putting lifelines in pretty much after every hexagon because I just don't trust myself and I'm worried that I'm going to lose it. This does have some shaping at the back. That was a bit of a whole thing that took me a while to sort out, but it looks really nice. This does look like a small little hole, but the neckband, hang on, let me make sure we're all like, everything's secure. I'm not going to lose anything because I would maybe cry or use some choice words. But yeah, it does fit over my head. I like that it's tight. Sorry, my glasses are really not helping. But yeah, it fits over my neck, and I like that it's a tight neckband. I wanted that because I've made a lot of, well, I have not made a lot. I've made 2 sweaters before, and the 2 that I made before had a really loose neckline so that whatever you were wearing underneath was visible, and I didn't love that. As it turned out, they were really scratchy yarn, so I couldn't wear them anyway, so it kind of worked that I had to wear a turtleneck or something. But this one is so soft, even against my neck. It is so, so soft. It was recommended by the designer, the dyer, Pigment and Ply. She said that this is something she recommends for people who have more sensitive skin to like scratchy yarns, and I would definitely agree. It's so lovely to work with. Now, obviously, again, it's like not able, my needles don't fit over my shoulders, but it's gonna come down nicely. I'm just I'm so happy with it, guys. I think it's gonna be so beautiful. And this just feels like such an ambitious thing to have made. It's really like personal achievement, you know? I've learned so much knitting this sweater. The elongated stitches where you wrap the yarn around the needle and then you have to drop them and catch them up later. I feel like it's just been such a nice one to do. It's in garter stitch as well, so it's like knit and purl alternating. So I feel like it keeps me on my toes, and I really do have to pay attention for a lot of it. If I'm just kind of knitting along and, you know, slipping a stitch, I can get away with it. But if I'm counting and I need to make sure that I'm, you know, wrapping at the right point, or I'm like moving the elongated stitches along to the right point, I can literally do nothing but knit. I can listen to music. I let myself listen to some Dvorak string quartets, was what I was listening to whilst I was finishing this off this morning. But generally speaking, I have to do this when I have just time by myself so I can be fully focused, because if anyone talks to me, my husband knows, he's very kind. If he comes into the room and I'm knitting this sweater, so I try and not do it at those times. I do it when I know I've got like a bulk of time by myself and he's not going to be wandering in, because I feel bad. But if he does walk in and I'm in the middle of that, I will just say like, I'm counting. And he's like, I'm gonna go away, and just leaves me. And then I come and find him when I finish doing the bit where I'm counting, because I can't, like, if I try and talk to somebody at the same time, if I try and read, if I like listen to an audiobook or watch a YouTube video, like, forget it. I've lost the entire thing. But I'm going so well, and so I feel like clearly I can do this, which I feel like was a very like big push for myself. It's not a beginner knitting pattern. I am a beginner knitter, like a beginning knitter. You know, if you talk about people who are like beginner sewists trying like a more intermediate pattern, that is the equivalent of this. And I'm doing it, and I'm really proud of myself. So one more like crafty project update. I have been working on some punch needle. I wanted to design some punch needle and make a cushion for my living room. And what I thought would be cool was to use like a Klee inspired design. So Paul Klee with just like basically just lines, geometric shapes, and I would fill it in with different colors. And I was really using up a lot of scrap. So I've done punch needle projects before, but I didn't use up all the yarn. I was like, oh, well, I can just use that in another project. But I realized that actually I don't have that much left over, a lot of those. And also, just because I have those colors doesn't mean I love those colors, and doesn't mean I love them together. And I've basically gotten to a point where I punched a load of yarn into here, and this blue bit was actually not punch needle yarn. This was just like DK weight yarn that I had. Because like, well, what's the difference? Yarn is yarn. DK weight yarn, for one, you really want to use a smaller punch needle because otherwise it might not stay put because it's a thinner yarn. But also it takes so much longer to fill in than something that is like chunkier and designed for punch needle. And so I don't love how this is looking. And if I were to pull all this yarn out, it would just basically be a big holy mess. And I have another one of these pieces I have more of this cloth to make a different project. And I think I want to use the same concept, but what I want to do is actually plan it a bit better. And I want to buy yarn specifically for it that I really like the colors and they work together and I have enough of them, rather than trying to just use up scrap. Because this to me is just, it's blah. And it's also taking up a lot of space and I'm not feeling inspired to work on it. So it's fine. They're not all going to work out, all these projects. So this one I'm just going to just pull off my little frame, fold the frame up, and start working on it at some other point when I can be a little bit more organized. Now on to my reading update. So one of the things I wanted to do this year was to read 25 books in 2025. I'm not too far from that actually. And the thing I will say that's been really difficult is because I've been knitting so much, when I have a little bit of downtime here and there, like my husband pops out of the room, I pick up my knitting and I knit. Those are the times I used to pick up a book and read. And I found that I was reading a lot less than I used to. And so I came to the conclusion that I needed to have another try with audiobooks. I haven't previously loved audiobooks, and my local library has audiobooks, not a great variety, like there's not a ton there, but also I did like a 1-month Audible subscription just to try and see what I thought, because there was a book that I was reading, but it was a library book and I was going slow with it. It's The Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann. I did end up listening to, I think it was 3 chapters I listened to as audiobook. The rest of it I still ended up reading, and doing a combination of reading a book and then listening to the audiobook and trying to keep track of where you are, I felt like I couldn't stop mid-chapter. I had to read or listen to a whole chapter at a time. It made the whole thing super awkward, so do not recommend that. But I ended up finishing that book, and the audiobook portion did help me because I could listen to the audiobook while I was knitting, which was excellent. So rather than like a either or, I could do them simultaneously, which was great. But yeah, it was a good version of an audiobook, but I don't love fiction audiobooks. I'll talk about another one in a moment. But yeah, I ended up listening to that book and reading that book, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I feel like that is a book that I would have fallen head over heels for when I was maybe 18 to 21, around that kind of age, where I was getting really into philosophy, religion, like long philosophical discussions, because there's a lot of that in this book. It's a really beautifully written, quite a poetically written book. There's a lot of really beautiful descriptions of like landscape. It takes place in like the Swiss Alps, and it's really a lovely book. It is a long book and it is a heady book, so it's not for everyone. But if you are interested in like intellectual thought and conversation, I do think it's a nice one to read. Know that it's an older book, so it takes place just around the First World War, and so some of the ideas and concepts are not where we are now. There was some interesting stuff with medicine as well, because I do have some training in that. I'm a midwife, and there was some stuff because the main character was in a sanitarium. That was the idea. He was like, basically, he was visiting a cousin who was unwell and being looked after there, and ended up being admitted himself. And there's a lot of talk about medical things that are like, some of them are maybe a little bit different now, but I honestly think it's quite interesting and funny to like imagine or like kind of put yourself in that headspace. But that was a good book. And then the next one I ended up reading was Immortals. I don't know. It could be either of any of those combination of words. I don't know how to say his name. It's Table for Two, which is short stories. And I'd read The Lincoln Highway by him. Really, really enjoyed it. Table for Two is like 2 sections of short stories. The first take place in New York City, and it's a variety of different characters. The second take place in LA, and it's really mainly surrounding like one character or one kind of bigger story, but broken up into shorter stories. It was okay. I like his writing. I think he is a good writer, but I feel like this one had a very different vibe, very different feel, and it was kind of like cosmopolitan, yuppie-ish, a lot of like wealthy people kind of showing off what they know about like art and museums and culture, and it felt a little snooty, if I'm honest. Like, sorry, my camera's overheating. I'm obviously talking too much. I actually recently changed the settings on my camera to make it a bit more HD, and it seems to be running through the batteries faster and also overheating the batteries. So sorry if it's a little bit like cutting up what I'm talking about. But yeah, the book basically ended up feeling just like a little bit snooty. I didn't love it. I don't think it was intended to be snooty. And there were some funny characters. Like, it wasn't a total like write-off. It wasn't a bad book, but I just didn't enjoy it quite as much as I was hoping. And that was one, again, I did like a combination. I think I listened to 2 of the stories as audiobook, and then the rest of them I read the stories. And that was kind of what tipped me over to like, yeah, I felt previously like audiobooks were really not for me. And they can be very theatrical, the way people read them out. And I studied acting. I really love good acting, but I don't like overacting. I think the Magic Mountain, the version that was on Audible, was actually honestly fantastic. I think that was really good. But some of the Immortals, and then there was the Margaret Atwood book that I read last month. I did listen to like one of those stories in an audiobook. I feel like when you have somebody who's like talking with, a lot of inflection and different voices for different characters, it ends up feeling a little bit to me like when you're reading a children's book to a child. And when I read a children's book to a child, I would be doing all of the voices, and I would be like over the top, like emphatic with emotion to make it more fun. But I don't really need that as an adult. And when I'm reading in my own head, it's more like level. So it's not my favorite way to read fiction, but I did decide, because my library had it, to take out a book that's an audiobook that's nonfiction. So this is Bill Bryson. The book is called The Body, A Guide for Inhabitants. If you're not familiar with Bill Bryson, he, like me, is an American who's moved to the UK, and he's written a lot of like travel books, so like Britain from the Eye of an American, that kind of stuff. And I think he used to be a journalist, if I'm not wrong. He has a very like approachable, very easygoing, very comical way of writing. I do like his writing style, and I feel like it's a very lighthearted kind of read, but actually the topic isn't especially lighthearted. It's basically like a biology primer, like human biology primer. If you don't really know a lot about human biology, I think this is a really good way to like get the basics. I know quite a bit about human biology. Like I said, I'm a midwife. I've been fascinated by the human body since I was a young child. I used to love watching like surgeries. They used to show them on TV, which is really grim. My mom was really freaked out. I thought it was so interesting. And so I am interested in that. And a lot of it I do know, but not all of it. I am learning new things. And it is, like I said, it's in kind of like a fun little factoid kind of way of teaching you things. So one of the things I'll tell you is like a little snippet is the amount of times a human blinks in a day in like 24 hours. It's something along the lines of like 44,000 times. And if you counted the amount of time that you spend blinking with your eyes closed throughout the day, like the waking day, it's about 23 minutes. So about 23 minutes of every day you are having your eyes closed while you're awake because you're blinking. Like I said, it's just like kind of fun, silly little factoids, but also just some really interesting information. I'm currently on the chapter about the brain, which is a truly fascinating subject. And what I love so much about the brain is that we know so little about it. Like that to me is what's interesting, that we're just kind of, our lack of knowledge fascinates me. That sounds really bizarre, but I kind of like not knowing things and recognizing our limitations. But yes, that I'm not super far into, but I'm very much going to enjoy listening to that one because it's not like different characters and voices and things. So I feel like that makes more sense to me. And I will finish that one throughout this month. I'm probably like an eighth of the way through, but I haven't been listening to it for that long. And then my husband and I also did work on a few jigsaw puzzles. So like I've said in my previous videos, my aim for this year, as one of my goals for the year, was to do a jigsaw puzzle a month because I wanted to just like have a kind of regular habit of doing jigsaw puzzles and not rush through them, just enjoy them. And it's become a really nice way for my husband and I to hang out. We have generally been listening to music while we're doing them, having a chat, taking our time, having a nice hot drink. It's been a really nice way to hang out on some like quiet afternoons. And so we did end up doing 3 jigsaw puzzles in November. One was an unusual one because it was a round jigsaw puzzle. It's called My Little World Round Jigsaw Puzzle. It was definitely challenging in a particular way because the pieces were very different from usual. Obviously the borders were very different from usual. This was not one that you want to do the outside first. You just, ideally probably start at the beginning and work your way out. But that was a fun one to do. And then we followed that up with one that we had enjoyed before. It was another one of the photo mosaic ones, but this one was peanuts. And the thing that was fun about this one, it was a little bit better than the Simpsons one that was a photo mosaic. I feel like generally it was just a bit of a better design. You could tell what you were looking at with the images. But also it had this border and it had a comma strip at the top and the bottom. So it felt like all of the bits were just quite fun to work on and you kind of knew what you were working on, and we both really enjoyed that one. And then we also redid one that I had done last winter. It's by a lady called Eleanor Essex, who's done a lot of jigsaw puzzles. She's often advertised to me on Amazon. I've done other jigsaw puzzles of hers, and what I will say is that the pieces are not always super easy to tell if they connect or not. And if you're looking at one of her jigsaw puzzles and there's a fair amount of sections with one solid color, I don't recommend it. This one, however, most of it was pretty clear, like different colors and a lot of pattern over the top. So that wasn't a problem. You're matching the image rather than the piece. So it was totally doable. But we did have some bits of the border that we had to like stop and move around because it wasn't where we thought it was supposed to go. So not the best as far as like the puzzle piece design, but I liked the imagery and it was a fun one to do with like the different sections and the concentric circles. So we did enjoy that one too. And then the last couple of bits I want to give just as my updates, one of them is for my goals. So something else that I've been wanting to do this month or this year is to perfect my chai latte recipe. Last year I was trying to get my favorite chai recipe, but I also like chai lattes. They are different drinks and I've got it. I've got my ideal chai latte. I know it sounds really not nice, but I'm not going to share it today because I will be making one at some point during Vlogmas. So I will show you guys when I make it, but I'm very excited. I'll cross it off on the day that I show you guys what it is, but that was a really nice goal to cross off and it's nice to have it as an option. I don't like having one of those every day, but it's nice to have one as like a little occasional thing. And then I just want to touch on some health updates because I've been mentioning generally throughout the video, If you're not aware, if you didn't see my video, like my catch up from the last couple of months, I did have some surgery in early September, which has made it very difficult for me to sit in a lot of positions, and it made it difficult for me to do much of anything. Certainly sewing and YouTube were just not happening. And I just wanted to give people updates because a lot of you were really sweet and checking in and sending your well wishes and hoping that I'm still improving. And I just want to say that I am still improving. It is something where I feel like every 3-4 days, I feel like there's a little progress point, something that I can point to that tells me I'm still headed in the right direction. And I'm not 100% of the way there, and it's probably going to take months till I'm 100% of the way there, but I'm really seeing so much progress and I'm feeling so much better. And thank you so much for all of you wishing me well. I'm getting there. So I need to pause because I need to get myself into the kitchen and make myself that hummus. I have a recipe I'll link down below. I've never made hummus before, but actually I don't think it's hard to make. Like, looking at the recipe, it's super easy, and I'm hoping that it turns out better than shop bought hummus. So I'm gonna prep some veg and I'm going to make some hummus to bring to my friend Annette's house tomorrow. So I've got the hummus, mini peppers, mini bell peppers, carrots, sugar snap peas, and radishes. And I'm bringing this ancho and habanero chili salsa corn tortillas and Peter's Yard fig and spelt sourdough crackers for dipping. In all honesty, the hummus is very just like, okay. I don't feel like it's better than when I bought it in a shop, and for me, it's not really worth the time and the money. In the future, I'm probably not going to bother. But it's good to find out these things, and it will be absolutely fine to bring tomorrow. I'm sure we will enjoy it, especially with all the nicely flavored dippers. Now for the rest of the evening, I'm going to be having a video call with my parents. We try and catch up about once a week and then have a little bit of a chill out wind down before heading to bed. I'll be back again tomorrow with another vlog. I'll be going to visit my friend Annette, who some of you might remember from the channel from the past. I'm sure it will be fun when I go and see her then, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye!